The Republican Civil War is underway. It's getting bigger and bigger every day over the big, beautiful bill. And here's the thing. Top Republicans from the Senate are coming out and essentially saying they're not going to vote for the bill. And the reason why is because it increases the debt to the tune of about $4 trillion. At the beginning of this, people really were not sure how this was going to, they kind of thought maybe it was going to be 51 to 49 in the Senate, maybe even 50-50, and J.D. Vance was going to have to step in. As of now, it is very clear that as the bill stands, it is not going to pass. That's the Senate, and we're going to talk more about that in a second. However, Elon Musk, who obviously has a lot of pull on the right now, Elon Musk came out and talked about his feelings toward the bill, and it was not super positive. It was not good at all. As always, guys, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so other great patriots like yourself will see it. Here is that video of Elon Musk.
So, I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, everything he's done on Doge gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
Really, who can disagree with what Elon Musk is saying there? Ironically, Elon Musk actually thinks a lot more conservatively than most Republicans do right now. And Elon Musk, by the way, is a self-described liberal. He's a classic liberal. He's really not conservative. But what he says there, this idea that a bill can either be big or it can be beautiful, is conservative to the core. And I think this really represents the divide that Republicans are having right now in the party, which is that one wants to do spending into oblivion, but on really good things. I don't want to strawman these arguments. I think there's merit to both sides. They want to just keep spending and keep spending, but they're going to do it on things that they believe are good for Americans and are obviously pro-America, conservative, all of that. However, the other side says enough is enough. The math doesn't math. It doesn't work. And so we can't keep doing this without increasing taxes. There's basically two options, really. You can either increase taxes by a ton to get down your debt, or you can have hyperinflation and print the money. And both are basically taxations at the end of the day. Rick Scott is actually one of the senators who is saying now that he is not going to vote for the bill because of how inflationary or how much debt it's going to be. Charlie Kirk was actually asking about this on his show, kind of gets all of his thoughts down on the table, and his response was very blunt, but it's very telling. Here is that.
So, Senator, would you say without any changes at its current composition, would you vote no?
Oh, absolutely. I'd vote no. This bill doesn't have it. If they brought it to the floor right now, there's not a chance it'll get the 51 votes it needs. So look, we all know we have to balance the budget. Look, we know that it's getting harder to sell our treasuries. We know interest rates are going up. We want to get interest rates down. We get inflation under control. That means balance the budget.
So as it stands, with that response from Rick Scott and other senators, it seems like this bill is only going to get 47 or 48 votes. It's not going to even get close to what it needs. So obviously, it's going to have to go through some massive changes because the tax cuts are going to expire at the end of this year, and that is just simply not an option for Republicans. There is just no world in which the tax cuts don't get permanently enshrined. That's going to happen. So some sort of bill has to get through. My senator, Mike Lee, said pretty much as much in a tweet today. He basically says that the bill that they're going to be sending back to Congress is going to look completely different from the first bill. And this is, frankly, why I think the bill being so tight in the House was a little ridiculous in the first place. I understand everyone wants to get into the bill what they want to get in, but let's be honest, this bill is going to look completely different in a month or maybe even, hopefully less, in a few weeks when the Senate is done with it. DeSantis also, even though he's not a senator, threw his hat in the ring because, again, I think he's running for 2028. So he's made a lot of headlines recently with this. This is what he said about the bill. He tweeted this out. He said, Elon Musk took massive incoming, including attacks on his companies as well as personal smears to lead the effort on Doge. He became public enemy number one of legacy media around the world. To see Republicans in Congress cast aside any meaningful spending reductions and in fact fully fund things like USAID is demoralizing and represents a betrayal of the voters who elected them. I have to say I agree with that. When you look at the election, it's just very clear that Doge and what Elon Musk was going to do was a massive part of that. I think there actually was a big swath of Americans who said, you know what, we can't all agree on what we want to cut, but most people agree that the debt is a problem. And Doge at least getting rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse is a good thing. But none of that is in the big, beautiful bill. And that really doesn't make any sense. I'm not just seeing this, by the way, from Ron DeSantis or Mike Lee and Rick Scott and Ron Johnson, Rand Paul. I'm seeing this from everyday Americans. They're talking about this a lot because at the end of the day, why would those people be incentivized to vote for this bill? Like, why would Rick Scott and Ron Johnson and Rand Paul vote for this? They don't want to vote for something like this. It only gives Democrats the ammunition that they want to say that Trump just ran up the national debt. That is not ammunition that Donald Trump or any of those senators want to give. At the end of the day, Republicans have a unified government, so they need to do the most conservative thing. When you have a divided government, say Republicans held the Senate and Democrats held the House, and they were still needing to get some sort of bill through, you have to make a lot of concessions. And you're probably not going to be able to, for instance, defund USAID. But that's not the world we're living in right now. We're living in a world where Republicans have the presidency, the House, and the Senate. So why would you not go as far as you can go conservative-wise? Why would you not reduce the debt and take that win, go back to the American people and say, look, first people, and I don't know, let's say I think Bill Clinton was the last time who did this, to get the debt under control, to have a balanced budget, essentially, to not run up the debt. They need the cuts. This is where I think it needs to be. They need to keep the cuts to Medicaid, which, by the way, it only penalizes people who don't work. So it's not really hurting, your average hardworking American. They need to cut the other useless spending in this bill, like the MAGA savings accounts and the USAID funding, like DeSantis mentioned. They need to keep the tax cuts. They have to do that. The stock market will crash. The economy will probably go into a recession if people are taxed that high, especially businesses, because they can't afford to hire people if they're spending 15% more on taxes, which is what would happen if these policies if the tax bill wasn't implemented. We just can't afford to do that. So they need to keep that. They need to keep the defense spending. That's absolutely crucial. Trump is hugely up in the polls when it comes to immigration. He knows what he's doing with immigration. They need the funding for that. It's clear that Americans want that. They need to get rid of all the other crap that I talked about. That's what Republicans were meant to do. Again, if the American people wanted some sort of kind of liberal, wishy-washy bill, they would have elected Kamala Harris and Democrats to the House. That's what they would have done, but they didn't do that. They didn't do that. Again, looking forward to 2028, I think that the Republican Party is going to go through a massive change. I think it will. I don't think it's as simple as the neocons versus MAGA, which is a lot of what people are saying, right? Because in the early 21st century, in this century, you had what we would consider a lot of neocons. I'm talking about Bush Republicans. And then Trump came along. And he changed the Republican Party for the good, for the better, in my opinion. And so what you had, though, in the Republican Party was kind of a mixture of these two groups, and they're fighting for a long time. I don't think it's that simple anymore because there are essentially massive portions of MAGA right now, if you look at the polling, that want the bill passed, the big, beautiful bill. But then there are also massive portions of MAGA that don't want the bill passed. And so what you have is MAGA talking to each other and saying, oh, Ron Johnson is a rhino. And then you have the Ron Johnson MAGA fans saying, oh, Mike Johnson is a rhino. They can't all be rhinos, guys. If you support the big, beautiful bill or you don't, doesn't necessarily make you a rhino. It's not that simple. And that's why I think it's not as simple as neocon versus MAGA anymore. I think the real divide is between free market, libertarian conservatism on the economic side and then the populist isolationist movement. I think both of those can fit within the America First MAGA movement. I have to say I find myself in that first camp, not in the latter camp. I'm definitely a free market conservative. I think Elon Musk and DeSantis and Rand Paul are the future of the party more than J.D. Vance and Mike Johnson and Ted Cruz. I have to say that because I think when you put those three, I just kind of pulled three people. I think Elon Musk, DeSantis, and Rand Paul are way smarter than the latter three. Not to say that I don't like those guys. I just don't think that they have a proven track record like Ron DeSantis and Rand Paul. I think those people have a lot more to offer the nation than the people who want to keep running up the debt. However, that doesn't mean that you can't pass a bill this year. You have to pass a bill this year. And if it runs up the debt less, that's still better than running it up $4 trillion. I just think, again, those people that I named are committed to the idea of small government as the previous people that I mentioned. The small government I think, is what makes Doge and MAGA so popular. I think this is what made them popular in the election. I think that means the most when it comes to taxes and when it comes to economics. So I fear that Trump and MAGA's great kind of social politics, which is fantastic, everything they've done when it comes to DEI, transgender crap, immigration, I fear that all the great things are bleeding into the economic ones. And for me, it's very simple. When it comes to the social policy, we need a Republican who governs with an iron fist, protects the truth, again, secure borders. I'm down for all of that. But when it comes to the economy, it's very different. You don't have to have the same ideology for both. When it comes to the economy and taxes, we need a Republican who will just get out of the way. Get out of the way, let the market do its thing, and not tax us into oblivion or increase the national debt. As many of you guys know, I have a brand new baby at home, so I get zero sleep right now. However, the gym is still a priority and I need my energy. And fortunately, I have Energy Rocks, the partner of this show that gets me the energy that I need. Energy Rocks replaces that heavy, sugary pre-workout drink with a super light supplement that you can fit right in your pocket and take out and eat whenever you need that boost. It's modeled after Pop Rocks. Energy Rocks was created by a competitive athlete for athletes and also just anybody who needs that energy boost throughout the day without messy mixes or those caffeine crashes. It's only 20 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and you get all the energy that you would get from 1 cup of coffee. It's fantastic. I've got it in my pantry right now. Got to use it whenever I go to the gym. Right now, they're giving my audience a very generous 20% off everything in their store. So go check them out right now. Just use the code JoshCarr20 off at checkout. The link and the code for that are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel so other great patriots like yourself will see it. And tune in every single weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern time to see the live show, or you can check out another video right here.